Hello Bangkok and hello the world. You're catching us here just after filming something else, but we wanted to get a quick video out because the American election was a couple of days back and there's been a lot of controversy around how it's turned out. We feel we are perhaps uniquely placed in the world to discuss our special brand of expertise.
Big statement.
So I'm a Britishman, you're a Canadianman.
A Canadianman.
And we're based in Thailand, so we don't really have a dog in the race. We don't really care what happens. And we specialize in telling stories and communication and branding. So we're not gonna delve into the world of foreign policy or economics or any of that stuff. We're gonna look at some of the successes and failures of the candidates in terms of the communication strategy during the election.
Yes, and obviously we're both matching today. We're both wearing black. We're in mourning for the death of the Kamala Harris campaign.
RIP. Right, so with that out of the way, part one of this video will be me. We drew straws. I got Trump. Justin got Harris.
Kamala.
So part one will be on my LinkedIn page. So hello to my followers on there. Why did Trump win? Well, obviously he's been doing what he does for a long time. He's been in the communications business his whole life, pretty much. He's been pretty consistent over 50 years. You can see videos of him in the 70s and 80s and 90s.
Home Alone.
Yes. But he kind of came into his own around the Apprentice era when he was on TV all the time and he had to be a celebrity pretty much. So around that same time he was doing the WWF wrestling things and he developed a really strong persona. Now, again, no judgment on whether it's a good or a bad persona.
It's definitely distinct.
It's definitely distinct. But one of the main things that you can see in this election campaign is the way that he communicated. It was very, very simplistic. Some would say dumb, potentially, but I don't think it's dumb. I think it's, whether it's by design or whether it's accidental, he's able to communicate in a way that is very easy to digest. It's sound bites, and it's very easy to go viral. We obviously create a lot of content for social media. The stuff that we want to talk about is 10,000 word white papers because they take us hundreds of hours to write. But we know that that's not going to resonate on LinkedIn. So we have to be careful about how we choose what we show, the best quote, the best snippet, because that's what's going to really resonate. I feel like Trump has that instinct built in where he just knows immediately, if I say it in 3 words as opposed to 20 words, it's going to connect. And it's going to connect with everybody as opposed to just a small slither of the electorate.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, I mean, you said whether it's by instinct, by design, who knows. You can tell he's just winging it. But he does speak in almost perfect social media captions. We always talk about the importance of the hook, the first line of a social media caption that gets you to click the read more or see more part, where hopefully then you can link to your white paper. The man has good hooks. Whether there's any substance beyond that is kind of up for debate. The read more, maybe go talk to JD Vance.
But yeah, probably.
But it is punchy and it is effective. You already said he speaks in sound bites. It's perfect for the social media age. And Kamala just doesn't have that, which I'll get into later.
Absolutely. Another key thing with again, politics is branding. Political candidates are products, essentially. And Obama, in my opinion, had the best tagline of any company I've ever seen in my life. It's better than just do it. It's better than I'm loving it. Change you can believe in. Hope you can believe in. Not make America great again.
Yeah, right.
But the Obama thing, it was so, anybody could see that, and it's like a Rorschach test. You absorb whatever message you want to believe. Change? Okay, I want this, 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 and this. Okay, that's what he's saying. Trump is almost the same level as that. Change you can believe in, make America great again. Both are totally amorphous. Whatever you think they mean is what they mean. So you can just put all your hopes, dreams, aspirations into those words. Again, whatever you think about the guy, that's a great campaign, it's a great tagline. And I have no idea what Kamala Harris's tagline is.
No, I don't know if she even had one, and if she did, we don't know what it is, which is even worse.
It would be very long, though.
Right.
We'll come back to that later, too. A couple more points on my side. Just his, and I guess kind of the same point here, his activation, his PR activation of his campaign, especially in the last 2 weeks. I couldn't have done a better job if I was his PR manager. Going on all those podcasts, it showed. Again, it doesn't matter what he was saying almost. It's just that his willingness to engage with people at their level for 3 hours, that's a real display of authenticity. And again, whether it's fake authenticity or not, it comes across well. If you're willing to be questioned for 3 hours, there's a level of humanity there.
Yeah, and I think also, just to jump in here, sorry, but the Rogan interview, Rogan he does this probably better than anybody, and I don't think he gets enough credit for it. He just has a conversation. He's not approaching it like a journalist where he feels the need to hammer his guest. He just kind of lets them talk. And I really do think that interview in particular really humanized him, because you got him to hear him talk about things that he never talks about on the campaign trail, things about the whales and how windmills in the ocean are affecting their mental health. Never expected to hear that from Trump, and it showed a side that you don't normally see, and I think it's essential in the social media age to have that authenticity.
Yeah, and a spoiler for another video that's coming later is also what I saw from that, which I'd never really noticed before, is his speech patterns, again, by design or not, the communication level is so low, like a 10-year-old can understand it.
The readability is high.
Exactly. But punctuated with very specific details. So he'll talk about something that happened, and he'll say, okay, it's 150 million, brand new, specific type of plane. So he's giving you very general, but then the details that he gives you can imagine what he's saying really easily. And his setup is like a comedian.
Right.
So he tells a short story and has a punchline and on to the next story. I've never seen anybody communicate like that before.
Yeah, right. It probably comes from just his constant rallying. He is almost kind of like a stand-up comedian. And like I said, we'll get into that in the other video, but it's totally just set up, punchline, double down with a tagline, on to the next bit.
And again, just to show there's no bias here, I watched a lot of Rogan stuff. I watched Kamala on The View.
Okay. I thought you were going to say call her daddy.
I didn't see that one, unfortunately, but I saw a lot of her interviews and I saw his interviews, and he just came across as, whether she was just inexperienced in the media or not, he just came across as a much more authentic person. So he activated very well in the last stages. And also, top tier, the McDonald's thing, the garbage man thing, you'd never see a politician do that. Like it's leaning into pain points to a degree that, I would advise clients to carefully consider how they address the kind of thing he was addressing with those things. But it was brilliantly done, and it showed confidence, which Americans are looking for a leader with confidence, and he couldn't have conveyed any more of that in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think he managed to pull these stunts without seeming inauthentic, because going way back, was it Michael Dukakis who was riding in the tank?
Yeah.
And that essentially tanked his campaign. But then Trump, no matter what setting he's in, whether it's Rogan's podcast, whether it's a campaign trail debate, or working at McDonald's, he's still just like him.
Yeah. Somehow.
In total Trump character.
Yeah, well, being a billionaire.
Well, yeah, and then it comes across as kind of funny and genuine. I almost hate to say all these things, but it does work.
Again, just caveat here, we're not pro-Trump, we're not Trump fans, but he's just won a massive landslide, and we're trying to unpack why it is, and these are all things that are best practice.
In this day and age, 51% is a massive landslide. He did sweep all the swing states.
That's true. Okay, so that's...
But it is top tier trolling is the other thing, going back to the social media point. Like, that is funny. Like the garbage truck thing immediately after Joe Biden made that comment.
The next day, right?
It was the very next day.
Yeah, okay, so that's part one. To see part two, go over to Justin's LinkedIn page.
That's right. Okay, so now the sad part. Why Kamala lost? There's so many things we could say here, and again, we're not political analysts or pundits, and they're going to be dissecting this for months.
This is part two. Just the key disclaimer again, we're just idiots from England and Canada just trying to figure it out.
And we're speaking about purely from a communications angle. But, there's many points you could make. She was dealt a bad hand. It's an abbreviated campaign. She didn't go through the process of going through the primaries and having to get all this debate practice and media practice. She's essentially the incumbent party. The economy's going poorly. Most Americans unhappy with the way the country is going right now. So that's enough caveats. But speaking from a communication standpoint, I think there's three key ways that, frankly, she failed. Number one is messaging. She failed to articulate a clear, positive vision for the future. When we talk to our clients, we talk always about the importance of having a big idea, some unifying theme, overarching message that shows that you understand your audience, you understand their pain points, and then shows how you can help them towards a better future. You talked about slogans. Obama, change you can believe in. Trump, make America great again. Again, Kamala, if she had a slogan, I don't know what it is, right? And that's just a failure of messaging right off the bat. If you break that down a little bit more, you got to have a big idea and you have to have content pillars to back that up, different angles to which you're reinforcing the point of the big idea. And with Trump, it was pretty obvious what his top 3 issues were. It's the economy, it's the border, and it's wars. So whether he's able to do anything about these things remains to be seen. But for Kamala, I don't really know big idea and issues, what they really are beyond vaguely kind of women's rights and also I'm not Trump, which that's not an affirmative message. You can't just be the negation. Yeah, freedom, which, it's good for your big idea to be amorphous, but that's a little too amorphous. So that's number 1, messaging. Number 2, we alluded to this, the uncharitable way to describe the way she speaks is word salad. And I gotta say, when Trump speaks in sound bites, short declarative sentences at a 4th grade reading level. Kamala, you gotta have 3 PhDs to understand what she's talking about. I often have to edit the AI-generated subtitles for our clients when they do videos. I can't imagine having to edit the subtitles for Kamala Harris. The amount of semicolons and dashes and parentheticals that you would need to capture this is kind of mind-boggling. And we've always made this point, is if you're expressing a complex idea in simple, easy to understand language, that's clear communication. That's being an effective writer, communicator, or speaker. Now I just did a Kamala Harris. I did the 3 things where I really only needed 1. With her, it's almost like she's taking something that's a very simple point and making it seem like it's very complicated, and probably due to the lack of the first 2 things. No key issues, no overarching message. So you just kind of get this long thing and then you don't really even know what you heard. So that's point number 2, is just unclear communication.
Yeah, and as a politician, kind of communication is the only thing that you have to do. You have to be a charismatic, charming leader. That's the key. So, I mean, we talk about brand voice a lot in that strategy stage.
Yeah.
It was really seemed to be a lack of voice.
Yeah, absolutely. And then maybe it's just because she's being kind of overly cautious and there's a lot of different input that she's getting, but then she ends up not standing for anything specific. And if you can't just waffle on and expect people to buy in. Third point is it's kind of just the mirror of Trump. I feel like there was just a lack of authenticity to her campaign. I feel like they're still running the 2008 Obama playbook, which worked extremely well for him.
That's a good point.
Big emphasis on TV ads and celebrity endorsements and this kind of stuff, which I'm sure is fine, but we're living in a new social media age where authenticity is at an absolute premium. You got to show who you really are, and I think she struggled to do that. She kind of just seemed like an actor, different voices and accents depending on which audience she was speaking to. This is a bit of a tangent, but Obama did the code switching thing, but when he did it, it didn't seem inauthentic. It seemed real. With her, it just seemed like she's just doing whatever she needed to do to survive that moment. And for that reason, couldn't just live in the moment, and so was unable to do the kinds of things that Trump did, like with the working at McDonald's, with the garbage truck, with going on Joe Rogan. She should have done it. It would have been a big risk, but those were exactly the demographics she needed to speak to, and she failed to do that.
There's a point I haven't thought about before that just came up as you were talking about that. I think we might have just almost witnessed a rebrand happening live as well.
How's that?
So the Obama Democrat Party had a very strong brand. And they were the party of the working class. And from Bill Clinton and prior to that, Obama's legacy was, okay, we know the Democrat brand and we like this guy. Perfect. I mean, he's a great speaker, he's charismatic, and the brand is good. Can't fail. Whereas, what is the Democrat Party now in 2024? Trump seems to have just kind of pivoted the whole Republicans from these kind of oil stealing kind of old white guys to a kind of working class movement.
You're right, the anti-war working class thing.
And that happened live before our eyes. So it's a crazy pivot. You've rebranded during the last 6 months kind of. So that adds an extra layer of complication.
It is kind of, again, whether you love the guy or hate the guy, you got to admit it's one of the most fascinating political stories ever, and possibly the greatest political comeback in American history. And that's kind of a funny point that I hadn't really considered. It's like, wait a minute, is he just being a 2008 Democrat with all of the extra baggage that comes along with it, but policy-wise?
Yeah, just again, this might get cut because it's not really off on topic.
Yeah, we're completely off topic now.
But yeah, he snatched a couple of Democrats into his team during the election, and she did the same, but she snatched Dick Cheney. So if you're trying to rebrand, like, give me Tulsi Gabbard and Bobby Kennedy as opposed to Dick Cheney. They switched sides halfway through almost. So not only was her personal brand pretty weak, but the corporate brand was also a little bit amorphous. So double branding issues.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add to that. We should probably wrap this up soon.
Yes.
As George Carlin once said, when you're born in this world, you get tickets to the freak show, and when you're born in America, you get front row seats. So we'll be watching intently for the next 4 years from our cheap seats here in Thailand.
Yes, and we'll be, hopefully the next time we comment, we can give some more negatives towards Trump, because we're not pro-Trump by any means.
No.
But
Yeah,
it was a
this
great
is-
campaign. He just seemed a
All
bit
right.
tub thumping.
Well, make communication great again.
Let's do it.